5 ways to negatively beat overwhelm. So firstly, what is overwhelm? It's that kind of feeling that you get when everything kind of triggers you, everything kind of makes you feel quite bad or negative. Nothing you do seems to work. Sometimes it can feel like you're on a treadmill and running really, really fast but getting nowhere. The slightest task or activity can feel so hard to do, you actually can't bring yourself to do it, but because you're not doing it, you're just kind of frozen in panic and fear and anxiety. Overwhelm is one of the most unproductive states to be in because essentially it keeps you stuck. It holds you frozen. I know when I'm in overwhelm, when I really struggle to be creative, I can't really write, I don't want to show up on social media. Scrolling on social media just makes me feel bad and like I've missed the boat and like I can't do it and I'm not good enough and nothing comes easy. My inbox overwhelms me. The tidying the house feels like too much. Like it's a stage where you get to where you've maybe been running on empty for a while, things have maybe been brewing for a while, but you haven't kind of noticed the signs or recognized the signs or taken action early enough to prevent overwhelm. Now, obviously, the best thing to do is to recognize your symptoms of overwhelm, what triggers your overwhelm, and to kind of fend it off before it hits, because when you're in overwhelm, it can actually feel like a really, really dark place, if I'm honest, and it can feel really, really hard to get out of it, to even know that there is a way out of it. I have spent a lot of time just lying in my bed thinking this is all too hard, I can't do this, it's never going to get any better, it's never going to feel any easier, I'm never going to get it to work. And when you're in that kind of place, it's much harder to bring yourself out and move yourself forward. So anything you can do to recognize your symptoms of overwhelm so you can kind of take some action to stop it in its tracks, that's great. But today I'm going to share with you 5 negative ways you can actually beat overwhelm if you find that you are in a state of overwhelm. And even if you actually feel that you're heading in this direction, you can do these 5 things to fend it off and get yourself back on track. So the first thing to negatively beat overwhelm is to actually write down what you don't want. I am a business and marketing and mindset mentor. This is something that I take my clients through like at the very, very first stages of working with me. They're used to doing vision work, but they very, very rarely have sat down and written what they don't want for their lives and for their businesses. So oftentimes when we're not clear on what it is we don't want, that's actually something that can trigger overwhelm, because here's the scenario. You're scrolling through Instagram. That's my biggest overwhelm trigger. You're scrolling through Instagram and you see that someone is doing something that looks amazing, right? For me, it might be they've got this huge big membership community and they're showing up all the time and everyone in their community is talking about how amazing it is, and this may trigger in me some comparisonitis, make me feel like I'm not good enough, I'm not doing enough, and it starts to make me feel overwhelmed because I feel like I'm missing out, I should be doing this, oh my god, she's doing it, it looks so amazing, everyone's loving it, why aren't I doing this? And you can see how it starts to kind of build up inside of you. From one very, very small thing can start to trigger overwhelm. For me, this is the case anyway. It might not be the same for you, but this is definitely how I feel. So the reason why writing down what you don't want really works is I don't want a membership group. I've made that very clear to myself. I don't want to have to show up in a group like that providing fresh content all the time. I don't want the responsibility. I don't want to create a business that I'm completely tied to all the time. So creating a membership site isn't actually what I want for my life or for my business. So now that I know that, when I see people doing that, it doesn't trigger me into overwhelm. So make it very, very clear what you don't want for your life, for your business, for your relationships, for your home, for your holidays, for everything in your life, so that when you see other people doing things that actually don't align with what you really want, it won't trigger you in the same way. So writing down what you don't actually want is a really, really good way to get yourself out of overwhelm. Obviously, on the flip side of that, I love visualization. I am planning on doing a video on visualization for manifestation. If you've got any questions on that, pop them in the comments below. But I love visualization, and a great way to actually do your visualization is to flip what you don't want into statements of what you do want. So that's a little exercise that can kind of work both ways. That's really, really handy. The second way to negatively stop overwhelm is to unfollow, unfriend, block anybody who is triggering you. Now, this is for social media, but to be honest with you, it's also in your daily life. So if there are people on your social media who pop up on your feed all the time, and whenever they pop up, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel less than, I'm not good enough, I'll never be what they are, I'll never catch up. Honestly, it's not worth it. Your energy is so precious. Your energy, time, attention, and focus is so precious that if there are people out there who are triggering you, even if they're amazing, like this is nothing about them, it's actually more about you. Even if they're amazing, even if you actually do learn stuff from them or you find them really inspiring, genuinely, if they're pushing you into overwhelm, if they are triggering you to feel less than, just unfollow them, just unfriend them, just block them, unsubscribe from that email. And if it's someone in your real life, really question what value they're adding to your life. What are you gaining from maintaining this relationship that is actually no longer serving you? Because in my experience, honestly, like I said, your energy, effort, your intention, your focus is so precious, and we're already all pulled in a million directions. We genuinely can't afford to have anything in our orbit that is making us feel less than, triggering us, or pushing us into overwhelm. So if there's anyone on your social media at the moment that you're currently following, every time you see their post, you're like, dang, I wish, I'll be happy when I'm doing this. Honestly, block, unfollow, unfriend. So that is another negative way that you can actually get yourself out of overwhelm. The third way to get yourself out of overwhelm is actually to stop focusing on the problem. Now, this is much harder than it sounds, but let's just keep it really, really simple, right? So one of the things that kind of keeps our overwhelm going is because we focus on it. Oh, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so stressed, I'm so busy, I'm running around, I've got a million things to do. Oh my God, I'm never gonna get all of this done. I'm feeling so overwhelmed, I'm so anxious. This is going wrong, that's going wrong. And we focus on the problem, we focus on the overwhelm. And all that's gonna do is increase the overwhelm. What we focus on grows, right? Where our attention goes, where our focus goes, our energy flows. So the thing that you're focusing on is the thing that's gonna get bigger and bigger in your life. So the way to kind of flip the script on this is to get into action, right? Get into action. Honestly, getting into action is one of my top practical mindset practices that I teach, because when you're in action, it's actually really hard to feel fear. It's really hard to like give into those feelings of overwhelm because you're just in action, you're just taking action. So rather than focus on the problem, think of one small thing that you can do to move things along slightly. So for example, if you're feeling mega overwhelmed, that your home is really, really cluttered and it's just crippled you, and all you can do is focus on the clutter everywhere, just take one small action, just clear one small corner of a room, you know, just load the dishwasher and wipe the surfaces down. You know, with your business, if you're like, oh my God, I don't have an email list, I'm so behind, I'm never gonna catch up, just have a look at some email software. Ask your friends, like if this is a business thing, ask your business friends if they want to join your email list. Like, just start, just get into action. Rather than focusing on the problem, take a small, tiny, minuscule step towards resolving the problem, but don't bite off the whole chunk. Just like do one small thing that can get you into action and out of that sense of overwhelm. The fourth way to negatively stop overwhelm is to stop Slow down. Stop what you're doing. When you're feeling overwhelmed, it can be because you take on a lot. And let's face it, we all kind of have to take on a lot of the time. Sometimes we can't help how much we commit to, how much we have to do. A lot of times we can, and we can really control that. But when you're in overwhelm, it's often because you've been the hamster on the wheel. You've been juggling all the balls in the air and it's all just got too much. And a great way to get out of overwhelm is actually to allow yourself to rest. Now, this also can be a bit more difficult than it sounds. It certainly was for me. A few years ago, I realized that I felt naughty when I was resting. I felt guilty when I was resting. I felt I should be working or doing something productive, and I wasn't really allowing myself time to really rest. And by rest, it can literally mean like run yourself a bath. Don't even take a book, like just run yourself a bath, get loads of bubbles and just soak for like even 20 minutes. Don't go on social media, don't watch anything on TV, don't read, just be. Honestly, just be. Go for a walk, just sit in nature, do a bit of yoga. Stop, slow down, give the world a chance to kind of catch up, or give you a chance to catch up with the world. Because when you're rushing around in overwhelm, you're in this constantly anxious, tightly wound state, and from there you're never going to be able to accomplish anything. So relaxing, taking a deep breath, finding some space for you to slow down. You know, often it helps me to like write a to-do list, things I get to do that I love, you know, kind of frame things, try and understand where the overwhelm is coming from, take things off my list that I don't need to do, like really try and simplify it for yourself. But I feel you can only get to that stage when you've stopped for a little while, when you've allowed yourself to slow down and give yourself a bit of rest. Honestly, it's such an important thing, and it's something that you should try and build into your daily life. Like, you are your #1 priority, whether you're a mum, a wife, a girlfriend, a business owner, whether you're single, whatever your circumstances are, you are your #1 priority. If something happens to you, that's it. Game over, right? So prioritize yourself, prioritize your health, and give yourself time to rest. And the fifth way to negatively stop overwhelm is to stop comparing, controlling, and competing. Now, these are 3 big C's: compare, control, and compete. And I think in our very noisy social media based world, it's incredibly hard not to compare, compete, or try to control things. In our homes, it's hard to try not to control things. I'm a bit of a controller myself, so I know. But it's like no good can come of those things. Comparing yourself or your situation to others, unless it's really inspiring you to do better, in which case it's being inspired by and not really comparing. Like, how is comparing helping you? Competing with others, like, that is, unless you're a sports person, that is never going to be the way to bring you happiness, because you'll always feel less than. I always say to myself that if you're trying to emulate someone else's success, you'll always be a poor imitation of someone else. And how do you think that's going to make you feel? Rather than try and emulate someone else's success, figure out what your own success looks like. Try and get to the heart of what it is that drives you, your passion, your purpose, your mission. Like, get to tapping into those things, and then forge your own path. Don't try and follow someone else's path, because you're always going to be behind somebody, in someone else's shadow. And that's going to mess with your confidence. And guess what? Eventually, that's going to make you feel overwhelmed, because you're never going to be as far ahead as they are. So comparing yourself to others, honestly, no good can come of it. And trying to control things, and this goes for like anything in life, is such a futile exercise. Like, we cannot control anything aside from our behavior and actions in this moment. You know, I can't control what my husband does or says, how my, you know, how my day actually goes. All I can control is me here and now, and how I'm reacting and responding to things, how I'm taking things in, how I'm processing things, the action I'm taking, the intention of the action I'm taking, you know. So trying to control things beyond your control is the high road to nowhere. What's that? It's that prayer, isn't it? Learn to accept the things you cannot change, the wisdom to know the difference. It's that kind of vibe. Like, if there are outcomes and things beyond your control, don't try to control them, because it's never going to work and you're going to really, really hurt yourself in the process. So that was it. That was 5 negative ways to stop overwhelm, to beat overwhelm. I hope you found this very quick, bite-sized, practical mindset practice useful. Please let me know in the comments which has been your favorite. If you do any of these, how overwhelm feels to you, like what triggers your overwhelm. Let's all share and show up for each other and support one another. Honestly, it is such a great way to realize you're not alone and that other people are going through it. And if you've got any tips on sharing how you get out of overwhelm, please also share them in the comments so we can all learn from each other as well. I hope you've enjoyed that quick video. Please give it a thumbs up if you have. Subscribe to my channel. I'll be sharing loads of like business marketing, mindset, lifestyle, middle-aged woman life stuff, like all kinds of interesting stuff, manifestation, journaling, visualization. Then definitely subscribe to my channel, hit the notifications bell so you don't miss anything, and I will see you next time. Mwah. Bye.